Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. We got new details on this damaging ice storm and major snowstorm that's on the way over the next couple of days. So we're really going to break things down for you, and you can follow along with the date and time up above my head here. So let's take a look at the overall setup going forward. And what we're looking at here, we've got this polar dome of air building up here in northern Canada. That's the air mass that's going to drop southbound, as well as we have a significant trough that just kind of hanging in the wings out there off the southwest coast. And then we have a developing ridge that's really building up there towards the Aleutian Islands. That's going to be on the move, but underneath that, we've got a lot of warm temperatures and really kind of nice weather for a good part of the southern plains, and much of the southeast as they'll be experiencing even some record-breaking temperatures. So as we walk you through time, you can see that polar dome of cold air will be dropping southbound heading into tomorrow, while that trough southwest will be on the move, and those will be phasing together. And that first piece of energy will kind of break off and enter portions of Texas and bring some rain showers for them. But man, look at all those colder temperatures that really drop down into portions of California and much of the southwest as well, while much of the central and eastern two-thirds of the U.S. is locked into those warmer temperatures. But we really get concerned into Wednesday night, because we'll have a sharp gradient of temperatures and that boundary, and that will set up that battle zone, which will create an ice storm and a major snowstorm in its wake as well. So we got a lot to cover in this update. Let's take you through the overall temperatures, because that's pretty concerning, because these temperatures do drop in a big way in a lot of places as that Arctic air will be entering portions of the U.S. So as we walk you through time going in today, we don't see the Arctic air, but we don't really see the Arctic air until about tomorrow morning on Tuesday. You can actually see that green shaded area. Those are below zero temperatures that's entering from Canada down here into the Dakotas, with single digits emerging in far portions of Montana. That's the air mass that will be shifting southbound, and you can see those below zero temperatures start to enter more of the U.S. as we get into your Wednesday morning. But man, it's pretty cold down there in Nevada, back into Oregon, as well as into California. They get really chilly. Even in Southern California, it gets into the action. You can see even 30 degrees down there in Flagstaff in Arizona, as well as in New Mexico, while much of Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas are still well into that warm sector on Wednesday afternoon. And it's not really until going into Thursday morning where we really start to see these temperatures plunge in a big way down here in portions of Wyoming, where they've got blizzard warnings out there. And then that snowstorm will be really cranking by then as we get into Wednesday afternoon, with those temperatures dropping below zero. So definitely some colder temperatures on the way. So let me shift off eastbound and take a look there, because they don't get the cold temperatures until basically the second half. So it's all about the warmth further down to the southern plains and much of the southeast. There'll be widespread 80s and 70s down there in the southern plains. Look at those temperatures as we go into Wednesday afternoon. We've got widespread 70s across the board from much of the southeast, even those 60s reaching as far north as Ohio. But there's the demarcation line where I think the setup will be for the ice storm, and the major snowstorm is right here, because we'll have basically a south wind pulling those temperatures. Warm air rises and cold air sinks. So where we have that battle zone, that'll create the ice storm setup that looks to unfold across this region, and that will swing into portions of the mid-Atlantic as well as into New England as we head Wednesday into Thursday timeframe. But numerous records look to unfold across the south and southeast. Some of these places could be touching 90 degrees in Florida by the time we get into Wednesday and Thursday afternoon. But look at the winds, and they're really going to be cranking as well. So we'll take you through the winds on the latest HRRR guidance. And as that trough really digs in off the west coast, those winds will be cranking as well. So easily some 50, 60, upwards to 70-mile-per-hour wind gust at times. All those areas in red, you can see from the graph at the bottom right-hand corner, the bottom corner of the screen, all those 60 and 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. and that will be swinging all the way down into this, into the southwest regions, screaming across. Once that trough hits the portions of Arizona and New Mexico, that will swing those elevated winds in that region, and then will eventually swing over parts of Texas and entering portions of the Ohio Valley as we get into your Wednesday afternoon. But let's take a look at the overall setup where the snow and the rain will be over the next 48 hours on the HRRR guidance. So we have that initial system coming in with that Arctic air plunging in northern portions of Minnesota, as well as into the upper peninsula of Wisconsin there and into Michigan. We also have more snow going to be entering portions of Montana by the time we get into tonight. Just some, scattered rain showers across the southeast. Nothing too big as of yet, but it's not really until as we get into tomorrow afternoon, we see more snow starting to fly in the Intermountain West, while the snow really starts to pick up in portions of Minnesota, as well as the northern Wisconsin and northern Michigan here. And then as we swing through time, we'll be watching that trough coming in on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, across portions of Texas and as well as into Oklahoma. Some of these could be on the strong to severe side, shifting into portions of Arkansas as well as Louisiana. At the same time, we'll have our bona fide storm system really start to take shape. So I think that's when some of the blizzard conditions start to really unfold across western portions of Colorado, but especially into Wyoming, heading into portions of Nebraska, getting into South Dakota, where the snow really starts to elevate there in the Minneapolis area, back into Green Bay, where they really start to be picking up some foot totals in that region. So there's the snowstorm really cranking out. You can see it really picking up in portions of Flagstaff. Even some sporadic snow showers could reach close to Los Angeles, believe it or not, because they're going to be cold enough. It's not going to be that far away, but definitely snowing on the western regions here off the northwest regions up here in the Pacific Northwest. But yeah, that snowstorm will be really starting to crank, really getting into portions on Wednesday night. So the NAM really picks this up pretty good. So let's walk you through the time frame on the NAM model as we walk you through time. So they've got those snow showers entering the picture off the Pacific Northwest today, going into tomorrow night. There's that trough coming in all across the deserts. Arizona picks up some rain showers from this air mass down here into portions of New Mexico. That'll swing across and entering portions of Texas, getting into central Texas and north Texas as we get into your morning hours on Wednesday. And that's where some of that severe threat is going to be, just kind of a marginal risk. But nonetheless, we do have some severe storms, while the snow really starts to crank out in portions of Flagstaff, getting into western slopes of Colorado, really start to break out in Wyoming here. And then you can already see the ice starting to form, where I do feel kind of a dangerous ice storm setup will be looking to unfold, especially as we get into Wednesday afternoon across southern portions of Wisconsin and southern portions of Michigan. Detroit looks to get hit hard from this system with some damaging, if not almost crippling ice within this region. So definitely be on high alert. This could be dangerous with a lot of widespread power outages from this system, building up on those power lines and all those trees. And the heavier winds, you could be looking at extensive tree damage in these regions. But that ice will actually swing down in portions of Pennsylvania, at least northern Pennsylvania, and getting into southern portions of upstate New York as we move through your Wednesday night time frame. But it really starts to get cranking into Thursday morning. So Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday morning could be a dangerous day with ice really start to unfold across portions of Iowa, getting across southern Wisconsin here, swinging all the way through portions of Massachusetts and Connecticut, getting into the southern portions of Vermont and New Hampshire. That looks to be the bullseye where the ice will be. And then further north, back into Sioux Falls, back into Minneapolis, the Twin Cities area, could pick up. The National Weather Service just updated 19 to 25 inches within the Twin Cities area. So they're not messing around. That's 2 feet. And honestly, the blend of the model's been showing 2 feet for the past 4 days. So they've been really consistent and calling this storm well ahead of time. So we've had plenty of warning on this particular snowstorm. Really looks to unfold, and it doesn't even get going until Wednesday through Thursday, ending on Friday morning, while much of the West is still locked and loaded under those well below average temperatures and more instability. We talked about the La Nina losing its steam, and it's definitely losing its steam in a big way with the subtropical jet stream getting more active. That puts the West Coast more into play with more opportunities for rain and some snow, especially with that big trough coming in. And they're going to get it in a big way. I'll show you some totals at the end of this update. We've got some pretty healthy totals across California, no question about it, over the next 10 days, as this will move through going into Thursday, Thursday night, Thursday afternoon time frame. But here are the winds on the latest NAM model. Again, it's going to be windy with this system, with this significant trough. We've experienced some 40 and 50 mile per hour wind gusts across the Central Plains today. But man, look at this wind swath over the next 4 days coming across in the latest NAM guidance. As that trough will swing across, very elevated high winds across portions of Arizona, getting into New Mexico. That will swing across. You can tell where the vorticity pretty much goes over this area. That's where the highest winds are going to be. So definitely some high wind gusts, no question about it, over the next 4 days. But here's some preliminary totals on the latest blend of models. So we've got, again, that significant trough coming in off the Pacific Northwest and off the West Coast. Look how close the snow gets to portions of Los Angeles, back into Flagstaff with 1 foot to 18 inches of snow, back into Durango, into Ogden, Utah, got back into St. Louis, places like into Casper, into Billings. Those areas are going to get crushed with very heavy snow, into Sioux Falls, into the Twin Cities area, back into Green Bay. Could easily pick up 1 foot of snow from this system. I'm calling for 2 feet in and around the Minneapolis area. And then northern portions of Michigan here into Wisconsin, and then another significant snow swath will be feeding off into the portions of the mid-Atlantic, but especially in New England area and upstate New York, getting into Vermont and New Hampshire, as well as in the state of Maine. Could be getting some very heavy snow from this particular system. And here's the latest from the National Weather Service, kind of implying the same thing over the next 4 to 5 days. Like I mentioned, they've got that bullseye really right over the Twin Cities area from 19 to 25 inches of snow, and some of these areas could have some isolated 30 inches of snow out of this system. So some of these areas could get their biggest snowfall of the season. But another dangerous setup is the ice a little bit further south. So this is a huge concern as well, with the significant ice totals anywhere from 1/4 to possibly 1/2. And where I'm really more concerned about the ice is down there in southern Michigan, where they could be looking at some crippling ice storm looking to unfold, with maybe 3/4 of an inch or more trying to form on everything that in its wake, from the power lines to all the roads. Is going to be very dangerous in these regions, and very significant totals as well in northern portions of Pennsylvania and southern portions of upstate New York, getting hit hard with that ice storm. That's on the European. The latest GFS actually pulls it a little bit further south. This is kind of the outliner, but it definitely pulls the ice a little bit further south, and it also expands it thicker a little bit more. But the latest NAM has it more in line with the European. So more guidance is shifting on that northern side versus what the southern GFS guidance is leaning towards. But nonetheless, either way, you're going to get hit hard with some very significant ice and a dangerous ice storm that looks to unfold over the next 4 to 5 days. But beyond that, what's going to happen? So yeah, we've got more troughs coming in off the West Coast, more instability, more rain coming in off the areas of Northern California, back into San Francisco, into San Jose, back into Riverside, places in Los Angeles, into San Diego is going to get hit hard with more rain, and then snow in the interior regions. More snow for Flagstaff and into portions of western Colorado, as the snow will continue to fly there in New England. Let's walk you through time. You can still follow the time and date above my head. So this is coming up on this weekend. We got more rain coming in off the West Coast, off of California. Look at that. That's just an incredible sight to see. You had a drying out period for a while, but the rains do come back with a vengeance. And it's just one system right after another going into Sunday, even into Monday time frame. We got, you know, on the Sunday night, we've got more snow flying into portions of Arizona. This swings in portions of the Texas Panhandle and North Texas again, as this comes across on Sunday night, heading into Monday morning with another system moving across, and that will be moving across the central U.S. and going up through portions of the Ohio Valley, with some more snow breaking out into portions of Wisconsin and heading into the upper peninsula area. And that's the system that I do feel will have more heavier totals, shifting a little bit further south and up into portions of New England from the 26th through the 28th time frame, where they'll be looking at some additional snowfall totals up here, while yet we have another system coming in off the west coast. So you can do the math. We've got a lot of heavy rain coming in for California. Let's look at these totals over the next 10 days. This is pretty impressive, guys. We've got one system right after another. So these are totals now, but now through the end of February, starting the first couple of days of March, 2 to 3 inches, if not 6 inches across southern portions of Oregon here, northern portions of California. Look at some of these impressive totals, even in Southern California, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rainfall there in between Los Angeles and San Diego. So this is some really impressive amounts getting into Arizona, even Vegas. I mean, look at that, 1 to 2 inches for Las Vegas. Yes, some definitely heavier totals. These are places that desperately need the rain, and they're going to be eating away at the drought over the next 10 days. There's no question about it whatsoever. And then we move off to the east. You can see more or less where they've had a lot of significant rain over the last, I don't know, 1 to 2 months easily. They don't have as much of impressive rains coming up. More of the rains are further north, or at least the precipitation. Most of this is going to be in the form of snow. But either way, they've got a good 2 to 3 inches, 1 to 3 inch swath of precipitation across a good chunk of the Ohio Valley and much of the upper Midwest through the mid-Atlantic here, with some fairly hefty totals going over the next 10 days. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me the next update while I protect you before and after storm.